Good morning to all and welcome to my YouTube channel, Jim's 5am Club. It's Thursday morning. It's been a wet old week here in Sydney town, but I've gotten up early, come down to the city and taking a little bit of a break now to kick off yet another book summary. And today's book summary is entitled Algorithms to Live By. And it's written by a dual authorship of Brian Christian and Tom Griffiths. So an interesting book indeed, because it talks about some strategies, some tactics that we can incorporate into our daily lives to help us make decisions, make choices, and achieve some progress in our lives. But one thing for sure and for certain, what I've learnt is that over the past decade, don't know about you, but life is becoming a lot more complex, a lot more complicated, and a lot quicker. So we need to make decisions, snap decisions on the run all the time, because we have multiple choices and many consequences to consider and to contemplate, which impact lots of people around us. And given the fact that we all like to be popular, we all like to be professional, there is a lot of pressure that's placed on each of us on a daily basis. And this book, which is entitled Algorithms, may give us a few tips, a few life hacks that can improve those decisions that we make. Because at the end of the day, the big decision that we need to make, and it's funny just to think about it, is how much mess in our lives are we able to endure? How much mess are we able to put up with? Because life at the end of the day is messy, very messy. And if you're a perfectionist and if you want everything to be clean and perfect and in place, then 2022 going forward is going to be very tough for those people who are strung and wired that way. Because at the end of the day, as we said, you're basically wiring yourself for tremendous pain. So what is an algorithm? The author tries to clarify it in this book here by saying that algorithms are basically anything we do that helps us make decisions and brings shortcuts into the decision-making process. A recipe, when you go to cook a dish and you're following a recipe, the recipe is the algorithm. We are bombarded by lots of choices, and we need lots of algorithms, lots of shortcuts to make decisions and to make the best possible decision at that point in time. The person we choose to marry, the job we choose, the petrol station that we pop into, the time we get up in the morning, the places we go on holidays. All of those things are choices, and they're based on algorithms that we've basically generated and developed ourselves throughout our lives, or algorithms that we've accepted and inherited from other people. So what more can we learn here? I guess the biggest lesson from this book, and I think we all understand it as well, is that if you're too picky, if you're too slow in making decisions, if you procrastinate, then chances are that you're just not going to make a decision at all, and somebody's going to take that power, that decision power, away from you. For example, if you're trying to get into the housing market and you want more information, you put more conditions into your buying criteria, then chances are you're going to be living on rental for the rest of your lives. If you're too picky when it comes to finding the ideal partner, if your checklist is far too big, then chances are you're going to spend the rest of your life being single. So the key lesson here is you probably need to understand very, very clearly what you're looking for, but we need to be flexible in our approach, because if we spend far too much time gathering information and gathering more and more information in order to make the perfect decision, you simply aren't going to make any decision at all, and you're going to spend the rest of your days not achieving very much. Because when it comes to selecting a partner, when it comes to finding a partner, you can spend all of your days trying to find Mr. Perfect or Miss Perfect. But the reality is that you're not Mr. Perfect or Miss Perfect. So how do you expect to find something to complement something that you're not? I remember years ago reading a book which put it all into perspective, that when people look for partners, people basically select the best available at the time rather than the perfect partner for your life. And selecting and making that decision for the best available at that time is basically a lottery to a certain extent, and it all depends on your attitude. If your attitude is flexible and you can grow and develop with your partner and take the good with the bad, then you'll survive. But if you're very fixed in your ways and you're a perfectionist, as we said, and your ideas and ideals and values don't quite match and don't quite morph and flex with those of your partner, then you're going to have challenges which you may be able to live with, but most people, unless they change, unless they're flexible, unless they're able to morph, are going to live in pain and suffering for the rest of their lives. But the key point, and I'll just have to reiterate this, is that if you're too picky, if you want perfection, then in today's life, in today's pace, the pace of the property market, the pace of the dating scene, then chances are that you're going to miss out, because he or she who hesitates will basically miss out. It's a cruel paradox, having enough information to make a decision and making that decision and sticking to that decision. Because, and I guess the other thing that you see these days is that people don't take those decisions all that seriously. You see people buying a car, and 2 or 3 years later, they're into another car. You see people dating and getting married, and before you know it, they're off with another partner, ditching one and looking for the grass which is greener on the other side, which of course is never greener on the other side, and you end up being more unhappy and more pained than what you were before. So the author in this book gives us a few examples just to toy with us and put their point across. And one of the examples is how do you go about finding a parking spot when you go to the shopping centre at Christmas, or when you go to the football? How do you find the best parking spot? And it's a hit or miss activity. I know that there are people who are just appear to be lucky because they just seem to find the perfect parking spot every time. And yet, when I go parking, I will have to do loops and loops and circuits of the block in order to hopefully come across something, and then end up parking miles away and walking. But how do you make the decision? At what point in time do you continue looking, or at what point in time do you just take the best available at that particular point in time and then just decide to walk and get there on time? But the authors here say that there are algorithms that you can use, and that algorithm is based on chance, because what you try and do is you try and maximize the best chance of getting the best outcome. So one of the things that people can do is, when they turn up to the shopping centre or when they turn up to the football match, is to look around and basically see or try to assess how busy it is. And of course, the earlier you turn up, sometimes the better you are equipped at finding the best spot. And once you see how busy it is, then you can determine, what is the probability of getting a parking spot closer, or whether or not you need to bite the bullet and park further away. The other thing also is when we go to a restaurant, do we try a new dish, or do we try one of our favourites? There's a balance between novelty and tradition. I know that for myself, whenever I try something new, sometimes I'm underwhelmed, or most of the time I'm underwhelmed, because I've got my favourites. And I've got my favourites because I've lived 62 years, and I've been able to hone my tastes, and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. But the author here is saying is that it all depends on your age and the period you've got left to experiment. And that's why when you're younger, you're welcomed and you're invited to experiment more, because you've got a long time ahead of you, and you can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to make decisions which don't satisfy you, because you know that you've got time ahead of you to sort it out and to make better decisions. But what the author here reminds us of is, as you get older, or as the period or the time frame for making a decision decreases, then the risk of you making a wrong decision and not being satisfied increases. And that's why, as the time gets less and less, as you get older and older, you tend to stick to your favourites rather than to waste your time trying to hit a jackpot or try to hit a home run, because you know what you like and you know what the chances are of enjoying yourself. So everybody tries to look for that golden ratio, for that sweet spot in terms of making the right decisions. But sometimes sticking to the old, tried and tested methods, the traditional outcomes, give us the highest propensity and highest chance and highest probability of having a good time and enjoying ourselves. That's why certain traditions, certain cultures stick to traditions, because they know that whilst it may not be really, really exciting, it does guarantee a certain level of pleasure to be rekindled and to be renewed every year. That's why we look forward to Christmas. That's why we look forward to Easter. That's why we look forward to going to our favourite holiday place. I'm at an age now where I really don't want to travel the world and go to all these exotic places, because I know what I like, and I love Greece. I know that I've got family in Greece. I can go there. I can love them. They can love me. I can enjoy that interaction or that welcome that comes with familiarity. So the author here says that there's a trade-off between exploring and doing different things or doing the same thing. There comes a point in one's life, of course, that you're probably better off exploring and doing different things and just saying yes to everything. One of the book summaries that I did a little while ago was where a person got to the point in their life, where they were holding back, saying no, 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 and trying to be too picky. And then all of a sudden, there was a recommendation from a friend of theirs to just basically embrace everything, say yes to everything, and to spend a year of their lives just doing everything, whatever popped up, and just embracing it and exploring it and doing it. So I guess for everybody there's a time and place for that. Some people get really excited and fulfilled by living that sort of lifestyle, whereas others may feel more fulfilled and better off doing the things that they are comfortable in doing. Because when it's all said and done, exploring is risky. It can be rewarding, but it can be disappointing at the same time. So if you don't explore and take risks, then you may end up being bored. So what do? There's a fine line between being an explorer and being a traditionalist and being a spitogatos, or a person who is homely. I know that the older I get, the more I enjoy my own company, the company of my wife, and just my solace, being on my own, being reading, being immersed in reading a book, or doing things on my own. There's a time and place for everything, as a friend of mine once said, David Ramsey, and each person is at a different phase of their growth and development. Each person needs to take control and take responsibility for what they do, their future, and to know that there's a fine line between doing too much and not doing enough. But the author here gives us an example. And decisions are hard for many, but what we need to do is seize the interval, seize the time that we've got available to us, and to do the best we possibly can for that particular point in time. And to ask yourself, what is the most productive thing that I can do at this point in time to give me an optimal outcome in terms of satisfaction, in terms of connection with others, in terms of results and achieving the outcomes that are aligned to my values and where I want to be in life. Because on the one hand, life is very, very long, and it can get boring if you're not doing things, if you're not connecting with people. Now, we've realised that, we've sampled it with COVID-19 over the past couple of years, how painful life can become by being isolated, by being in ISO and not being able to see your friends, your family. And one of the big challenges that a lot of people face is that given that we've experienced isolation for so long, it's going to be hard to get back in the saddle, to be out socialising with people, because we've gotten used to staying at home and doing things on our own or with a limited circle of people. And it's going to be a challenge, as I say. And but we're all invited to do the best we possibly can with the time that we've got available to us. So the author talks about the importance of seizing the interval. Life is long. We need to explore in the beginning and exploit the opportunities once they're there. But as we get towards the end of the interval, then we need to exploit and make the most of the things that we've learnt and we know that we can enjoy. Because what happens is the value of exploring, the value of being adventurous, the value of doing multiple and different things goes down. When the time interval decreases. That's an important lesson, I guess, which comes from this book, that the less time you have, the less advantageous exploring and having multiple options creates. The important thing, of course, as the author says, is that we need to be able to understand the importance of keeping score and learning and understanding, and in terms of what makes us tick and what makes those around us tick, so that we are able to find the best outcome. The author here talks about Moore's law. I know, for example, whenever I buy avocados, there is a short time between when it's not ripe, and then it's overripe and rotten. So we need in our lives to be able to keep score and monitor the things around us, so that we're using them, we're making the most of them whilst they're there, available, and when they're just ripe and just ready to eat, rather than to delay and to waste time and to end up allowing them to spoil and to not be of use. The author also says that because life is complicated and complex, we've got multiple problems that we need to deal with, multiple priorities, multiple urgencies, which have different levels of importance. So how do you choose what to do and when to do it? And the author says it's just like putting out fires. Which fire do you put out first? And working in corporate Australia, the pressure that each person is under to perform every single day is I guess a lesson for all of us. You need to be able to put out the right fire at the right time in order to stay in your job, to keep the right people happy, and of course to feel fulfilled yourself. And the author talks about an example here called the debt snowball avalanche example, where sometimes it's best just to tick off, just to do the smallest tasks first, just to get them off the list. But of course they need to be the tasks that give the biggest outcome, the biggest reward. It's starting to rain now, so I'm just going to go over here under cover, and to consider what you're doing, why you're doing it. So given that it's starting to rain, I think I'll finish off this vlog today. So thank you very much for joining me on Jim's 5am Club. It's a vlog channel. It's a YouTube channel dedicated to spreading the good word from OPE, other people's experiences, and hopefully we can use it to grow, develop, and incorporate the life hacks into our lives. Oh, it's starting to pour now. Right, I'm undercover. So thank you once again, and I look forward to chatting to you from a different place with a different message of empowerment. Yassas, take care, and bye for now.